Okay, let's get it. Week 4, Boomer League breakdown. Here we go. Um, it's just gonna be me rocking it out solo dolo, and I'm gonna be moving a little bit quicker through this just because of the time crunch I'm currently in. But I'll kind of walk through as much as I can. So we'll just start off with my game versus Salamander. Uh, in the team builder this week, I saw that Ursaluna basically didn't have a switch in, and I thought it would be a good time to try out like a Trick Room Ursaluna set. The only thing that was gonna like outspeed me in Trick Room on his team, I think, was Clodsire. Uh, so I was like, all right, it's time to rip it, and it ended up being pretty solid here. So we're just gonna start it off. Um, Salamander did some really cool stuff for sure, though. Um, so I got the Culber Berry, and he goes for the knockoff here, and I'm actually able to use the calculator to figure out that knockoff from Samurott would do more than 25%. So that was actually a knockoff from Zoroark. So I already figured out on turn 1, okay, Zoroark and Samurott are linked. And that will kind of come in a little bit here. So I go for the Trick Room. He goes to Doxbun on Mew. Just a hard switch as I U-turn out, and once again, it's all about the information in the early game and using like the calculator to your advantage. Because U-turn did 7% and it was resisted, and like my Mew is not offensive at all, I was able to find out that Doxbun wasn't max defense, and because of that, a burnt Ursaluna Facade was going to OHKO it. So I'm able to just go for that here. It may have been like a tiny roll to not kill, but it was certainly in my favor. And since he is not Intimidate Arcanine, my Drain Punch is able to OHKO it. Now, I think Salamander did two really cool things right off rip. I think the Zoroark Samurott combo, I think that is like one of the best things he can disguise Zoroark as. There's just really good synergy. You go for a fighting move into Samurott, and then you whiff, right? Something along those lines. Then Air Balloon Arcanine actually would have given me such a hard time if I wasn't in Trick Room. That was actually such a good set into me, and somehow, I just had the idea I'm gonna do Trick Room this week, and it worked out perfectly. I just like ended up counter teaming him in prep completely unintentionally, but it worked out fantastic. Then I know Zoroark and Samurott are linked because of that knockoff damage, and I ran the calc again. Thankfully, Ursaluna, just being the fat bear idiot that it is, when it's burnt guts boosted, Earthquake actually was going to kill both Samurott and Zoroark. So this kind of covered whether or not he was going to Terra Zoroark into something that maybe like a ghost type. So I go for a Facade and whiff, or he's disguised as Zoroark, which is what we see here, and Earthquake killed still. So I get my Trick Room Ursaluna off, and I mean, it just went crazy. At this point, I'm super far ahead, but I know that Samurott's still a threat. It still hasn't came out yet, so I don't actually know like what it's doing or anything. And Thundurus, actually, like, I don't really have a switch into Thundurus. My team is very hyper offensive. I just kind of have to play aggressively and make some like predictions and everything, and choose like timely sacks in order to get around it. So like the game's not over yet, but I know Alomomola can eat anything from a physical Lucario, which is probably its most likely set. I didn't want Ursaluna to take a close combat there. Here I did misplay a little bit. I should have just went for the Trick Room, because I think Ursaluna at that point would have just swept. But I knew he didn't have hazard removal at this point, so I thought Rocks would be kind of useful. Just getting some chip on Thundurus. And I can't see what item it is here. And based off the Dark Pulse damage, I know he's not boosting, so he's either Boots or Scarf in my mind. Or maybe like a Resist Berry. But I'm kind of leaning towards Boots or Scarf, especially Boots, because hazards have been kind of problematic into his team. So I'm like, all right, well, I just sacked Mew and got rocks up basically for no reason because Lucario is going to take basically nothing from him. Samurott doesn't totally need its health either. But I'm running Terra Ice Lilligant this week, and it matched up amazing into his team. It was a really good set, and I just went aggressively here and went for the attack. I didn't want him to not be scarfed and go for like a psychic into me or whatever, and Terra Ice hustle boosted Ice Spinner was gonna kill like not bulky Thundurus. So yeah, I just went for the damage there. And Alomomola, always going to be a switch in for this. Trailblaze was really cool. I didn't even have that on my radar, especially after seeing the Bullet Punch on the turn into Alomomola. I was like, oh geez. But Alomomola is fat as hell, and I can just kind of wish up in front of this. I trapped it in with Whirlpool, so I know he's not going to switch out or anything. And let's see, I think on this turn I go for the Wish. And the Wish here, instead of going for like a Protect to get the Whirlpool down, I can get my Regenerator back up, and Almamola's not super useful into both of these mons. It would be a little bit more useful for Samurott if he's physical, but I don't know that totally for sure. He could be special, and that could be a problem, I guess. But yeah, so I go for a Wish there. That way I can go into an Amorous on Samurott and get my health immediately back up. That spike's not super important, but we see the Terra Steel Samurott, and once again, this is just fantastic prep out of Salamander. Terra Steel plus Smart Strike, being able to Oko and Amorous, I was not ready for that, and at that point I was like, okay, like let's try not to throw the game here. I get the crit on Thundurus, that definitely mattered. He was going to live without the crit. I think I still had enough sacks where he lives that I can just go into Alomomola or Grimmsnarl right afterwards, take a hit, and then go from there. Unless he goes for like an electric move into Alomomola, but then I would just go, Ursaluna, live whatever hit, and then fire off a Facade that's going to kill Samurott at 32 and clean up Thundurus with whatever it is. So definitely got a lucky crit there. I'll take it. It helped the differential. That's pretty much what happened with that. And then everybody in chat was like, victory dance. And I was talking to Demo after the game. He was like, yeah, that's like the equivalent of doing a Fortnite dance on somebody. I was like, yeah, I can't do that. I can't. I wasn't going to do that. Yeah, I guess I was really playing for the diff or whatever at that point. But, Lilligant hasn't died. I got to keep my Terra Captain alive. But yeah, I think Salamander did a great job in prep. His team was super cool. I got lucky that I had the idea that I was going to do Trick Room Ursaluna, and it worked out perfectly. It was just the perfect call into the 6 that he brought. And, if I didn't go for the rocks with Mew there, just set up another Trick Room, and then you turned out to Ursaluna. Ursaluna it probably would have gotten all 6 kills at that point, which is just insane. But yeah, great game. It was a really fun way to start off the week, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, we got Sato versus Kolpa here. I was helping Sato prep a little bit, and it's funny, we were like, oh, Volcanion just has a really good matchup. Fire and Water offensive coverage is obviously amazing anyway, but into Kolpa's team specifically, he didn't really have a switch in for it other than like Screamtail and Dragalge. So getting those chipped down and Volcanion getting like a flame charge up was basically just like GG. And we'll see what ended up happening here. We see Annihilate into Torkoal going for the suicide. The only way Kolpa wouldn't have lost him on there is if he went to like Screamtail or Max HP Tusk, and they would have been taken down to like less than 10% from that. So that was like a pretty free final gambit, unless it was like Sash Torkoal. And at this point, Ty was telling me, he's like, yeah, I got rid of Torkoal. Like, if I get Rain Up with Thundurus, Palafin or Volcanion, you just start working with like Steam Eruption and Jet Punch. So, feeling good here. Thundurus, and this is a pretty important turn. Thundurus goes for the Rain Dance, and it's able to live because we saw the Protosynthesis from Great Tusk activate at the beginning, And then he got the rain up, and that got rid of that attack boost that Tusk had, and it allowed Thunderous to end up living with 28 health, or 28%. Yeah, really cool that he was able to, live that hit, and then, he's faster. It wasn't Scarf Tusk, and then O-Code with Grass Knot, which is crazy. Seeing the Terra Dragon right off rip on Dragalge, kind of lured in Hatterene, made it feel like it was a pretty safe switch. If he goes for another Shadow Ball there and just kills Hatterene, not in a bad spot at all. Like, Screamtail is significantly more annoying at that point. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was something that I'm missing that, like, Culpa would have been like, oh, you know what? Maybe it was a really high roll with Shadow Ball. I don't think it was after calcing it. I think it was going to be a 2-hit KO, but maybe it was a high roll, and he wasn't confident that it was going to kill on the, like, getting another 50% hit, and then having to eat a Dazzling Gleam after that, because Dragalge is still pretty important here. And then we see the Sunny Day. Ah, so cool. Running double Sun on the team, that's just awesome. But the Trick Lagging Tail plus the Para, like, that's the slowest Screamtail I've ever seen in my life. Pretty good Para on the first turn as well. Goes for the Wish, goes back into the Garg. And Goodra, we see here. Oh, also, what a flex by Culpa, going for the Stealth Rock in front of Hatterene. That's crazy. Those rocks could have just got bounced back, but he was like, nah, Hatterene's leaving. I'm getting my rocks up. Like, that was sick. But Terra Fighting Body Press doing 20%, and then it's Covert Cloak Goodra. So Salt Cure did a fat 4% and then doesn't get the residual because of Covert Cloak. Yeah, just really, really cool. Goodra, what Ty's been saying is, like, I can use it to handle one specific mon because of Terra. It's not going to do a whole lot more than that, but he's at least guaranteed to take out a threat with it. And so this week it was his Garganacl answer. The sack here of Hatterene was the idea, at least, with how chipped everything is. If he goes Thunders here, gets up a Rain Dance, and then Palafin's in its hero form now, he can just come in and basically, like, Jet Punch or Wave Crash sweep. Especially in the rain. But the Garg switch was pretty good here because that prevents Volcanion or Palafin coming in on a potential Salt Cure. Now, if he went Palafin on that Body Press, he probably would have just swept at that point. But I think that was a little too risky because being a water type, you're going to be taking way too much from a Salt Cure residual damage. And at this point, he's just kind of stalling out recovers. Garganacl is getting, like, a net positive out of all of this, but with Recover being nerfed this gen and only having 8 PP, this is going to be a losing battle eventually for Garganacl. And Ty's able to get up that Shelter, so his next Body Press is going to be doing twice as much damage. And I think at this point, Culpa's really just battling for a position. Essentially what he needs is, like, Sunny Day Up plus Chi-Yu to really do anything significant into Ty's side. Because he doesn't have a ton of offense outside of that. And Goodra still being alive for Garganacl. Oh god, yeah. He's going for the Acid Spray into Screamtail. And then he's like, you know what? If I go for the Body Press here on, like, a Wish or Protect or whatever out of Screamtail, even if it lives, he's still okay because he's not taking any damage. But if he switches out, it's going to Oko, Dragalge, Garganacl, or Chi-Yu. He didn't really have to worry about getting rid of the Screamtail with Goodra at that point, and just went for the Body Press, and it ended up working out. So we see the flex from the rocks on Culpa over the Hatterene, and then the sick-ass Body Press. So some cool plays this game for sure. Thunderous is also Heavy Duty Boots, which is awesome because he can just, at any point, go for Rain Dance with Prankster, and not worry about basically anything else at that point. So like if this is Scarf Chi-Yu, he's okay. He's going to get the priority Rain Dance up, and then Palafin can come in. I don't know what the Chi-Yu set is, but the fact that it went for Psychic twice there, it's leading me to believe that it was probably Scarfed, but not totally sure. But in Rain, it's going to die to a boosted Jet Punch. Yeah, really, really good game. And it's really funny because we were talking about Volcanion being good, prepping for this week, and then Volcanion never actually saw the field. It never even came out. The original plan was if Dragalge or Dunsparce... Actually, no, it was if Dragalge wasn't on the team, then Volcanion's a pretty safe lead. And then after that, if you see a Dragalge, then you can just lead Annihilate and then blow something up with Final Gambit. And that's kind of the route that he took this game. But yeah, we'll bounce on over to the next one. All right, I didn't get to watch this one live, but the replay was pretty spicy. So we see Special Decidueye, and then we see it get O-code with Gunk Shot. That's just crazy. Really fun turn one there. Yeah, Donphan beating a Decidueye. You don't see that too often, but that's awesome. Rock Slide doing 21%, and then Close Combat only doing 52%. That's really impressive stuff out of the Dunsparce there. Really, really impressive. Important para. I don't know. Pretty sure Dunsparce would have outsped. Maybe not, and that's why he switched out. But yeah, he just went into Lando being a flying type. He's going to be okay against like a close combat coming out of Tauros to finish off the Dunsparce. So pretty solid switch on Don's end there. But we see the Sunny Day and then Terra Normal. I think the para plus all the chip from Body Slam already was probably going to be enough for like Draining Kiss to end up killing Tauros later on. Especially since it wasn't like a fairy resist Terra. Not that you would Terra outside of normal in front of a Spectre anyway, but yeah, losing Tauros kind of just sealed the deal already. At this point, it's just kind of Don's going to walk through with Spectre, but Lando gets his first kill of the series of the entire season with a smackdown into a Terra Normal Tauros. Now, the Sunny Day hurting Tobin's Azumarill, not great in this situation because Moltres is only taking 36% from Liquidation, which is just ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's kind of time for Spectre to cook. Get the sub up, break the Gale Wings with the sub damage plus Shadow Ball, and now Spectre is faster and can just basically clean up the rest of the game. At this point, Tobin's going to have to bank on him not having Draining Kiss, which, you see a Roaring Moon in Team Preview or in the Team Builder, you're probably going to pack Draining Kiss on your Spectre. And it just snowballs with all these Grim Nays. So, I think the Sunny Day hurt, but really, at the end of the day, it was like losing Tauros and getting it parried was pretty much all that mattered. Yeah, that kind of just sealed the fate, and Spectre picked up the last 4 kills. Finally getting these guys on the scoreboard, love to see it. But yeah, quick game there. Really cool Donphan play out of Tobin, though, on turn 1, hitting him with the Gunk Shot. I love that. That was sick. But yeah, pretty clean win on Don's end. Alright, so Demo versus Peekaboo to finish this off. Switcheroo Klefki giving him the lagging tail. Really cool. Really cool. Double lagging tail this week. T-Wave miss on Heatran's pretty big. Not that you're banking on a para at that point, but just to be annoying to it and allowing like Corviknight to maybe U-turn out in front of it or something, because it's faster then. So pretty annoying T-Wave miss. going Rotom Heat and then for the Protect here, I thought it was a little interesting. Felt like you didn't know the set yet on Heatran, and if Peekaboo went for like rocks there on the Protect, that would have been pretty terrible. Especially as we'll see in the end game here. Not having Rotom be able to be a consistent switch-in for Valiant basically would have ended the game. And we see Thorns. And this is where Demo got a little too aggressive early in the game and lost a ton of position. Going for the Terra Fairy plus Dragon Dance there, like, Demo didn't have coverage for Bronzong. It was like Rock Blast, EQ, and Ice Punch. Obviously, Bronzong hasn't taken any damage yet and can just switch in here pretty freely. And I think Demo should have just went for the EQ, see the Bronzong switch in, take the loss with the booster energy, just to be like, all right, whatever, I'm not going to have it later in the game, and then get out and try to use Iron Thorns later on. It still has fantastic coverage for the rest of the team, and you can DD up later on in the game. But as we'll see here, Demo just ends up going in here and trying to get as much chip down on Bronzong as possible. Gets pretty unlucky on that Rock Blast plus this one, getting 4 total hits between the two of them, and then losing Thorns. So Demo's down like pretty bad at this point. But we'll see here that Protective Pads, or Punching Glove, Urshifu is basically just like a guaranteed kill every time it comes in. He may have calced the Surging Strikes damage there and saw that that was offensive Zapdos and was worried that he was going to be outsped. Right. Gets the burn on Garchomp. Huge. Corviknight always can come in on this and just defog in its face. We see the Dragon Tail here. That's why Corviknight went first. And goes back into Urshifu, which is like best case scenario, because you can just go for the Ice Punch and Oko. Really, it's not bad going into Rotom or Dragapult at that point, because you're just going to end up Okoing it anyway, but Urshifu was pretty solid, and we'll see that it's pretty good for the rest of the game. Let's see. Yeah, Heatran on Rotom makes sense. Switch out, sack Zapdos. Now, the endgame is a little tricky here for Peekaboo, but I think he's still up enough that Valiant, every time it comes in theory, should be able to chip down enough stuff where if Valiant is the last Mon left on Peekaboo's team, it should win. And so I'll just kind of like let this play out. So you're just getting chip on Rotom. All it has is leftovers recovery. Bronzong's fine. Get your berry boost. Get your health back up there. We see the rocks out of Bronzong, so he has dual hazards. Super useful. But the momentum out of Demo is always getting Urshifu in here. And Peekaboo just kind of has to sack every time. So he needs to really start making progress, but having rocks up is essential for that. The Corviknight switch was risky. Really risky. It sucks now, and that's because Peekaboo made a great play getting rocks up with his second hazard setter. Rotom's not really a switch into Valiant because it's going to take 25% from rocks plus whatever other damage. It end up might being like a 2-hit KO after like a CC or something. And Peekaboo kind of understands that Rotom doesn't want to come in on the rocks because he sees its leftovers. So T-Bolt here is going to cover Urshifu staying in or a Corviknight switch. So really good play. The Psyshock here was extremely aggressive. It didn't lose the game, but there was no... You weren't worried about Rotom coming in because the rocks were up. So if you were able to get rid of Corviknight and keep rocks up for the rest of the game, that basically that wins the game, right? And then we see Psyshock's only doing 21%. That's only doing a little bit more than like Moonblast would have done. So yeah, going for another T-Bolt there would have been fine because Rotom would have taken rocks damage. But this still isn't lost yet for Peekaboo. He does have to basically sack every time Urshifu comes in. But now Rotom's at 49%. So It's not really a switch in. I think the CC is fine on that turn. When I was watching this live, I was thinking Demo should just go Dragapult at this point. I don't think it died to Moonblast, but even if it did, and you have to sack your Dragapult, that's fine because you didn't take damage on Rotom, and Rotom can come in afterwards and click the freeze volt switch of its life, get chip down on this, and then you can kind of play from there, or go for an overheat and then switch out after. So I think that was a decently sized misplay on Demo's part, losing health on Rotom like that, and it ends up going down here. So the Corviknight play, didn't like that either. Really didn't like that. I get the idea though, where it's like, okay, maybe for some reason Peekaboo wants to switch out and go to Gyarados and you're playing off the choke and you can get a Roost up, and now Corviknight's in a much better position for the rest of the game. But Peekaboo accurately saw what was happening here and was like, you know what, I can just get rid of this, that's fine. Now, on this turn, essentially, if you keep your stats up on your Valiant, you're not going to die to any hit from Dragapult. I guess you haven't seen its item yet, but this was Scarf Drag, and that was a roll to kill with Shadow Ball. And it wasn't even like a huge roll. It was actually in Peekaboo's favor to live even at -1 defense, or special defense. So going Gyarados here, seeing what he goes into, and then having Valiant out as your last Mon probably wins the game. Now, you don't know that Urshifu's not packing Aqua Jet this week, but yeah, that would have won the game. So Demo played this well enough with all of his positioning in the end game, but yeah, it wasn't super clean either way. But Urshifu getting 5 kills here, and popped up to number 1 on the kill leader list. Pull that over here. See it? There we go. All right, so yeah, at the end of week 4, myself and Demo were still undefeated somehow. Ty at 3-1, Don 2-2. Got a big chunk of 1 and 3s here, and then Salamander 0-4. Urshifu taking number 1 spot on the kill leader list. Taking Enamorous' spot. It's whatever. Terra Steel Samurott kind of screwed me out of the kill. Whatever. I'm not mad. Whatever. But yeah, that was a super fun week. Excited for next week. I think I have Peekaboo, Ty and Demo play. I am looking forward to that matchup. That is going to be really, really exciting. I cannot wait. Yeah, let's get it. And I'll catch you guys in the Discord. Peace.